Okay, so the first thing you want to do after you feel like you've got a great, sense of what your story is supposed to be is you want to start cutting out all of the stuff that doesn't need to be there. Now, I do this by going through multiple passes. So what I call my first pass is really my first time that I go through all of the footage. And what I'm doing there is I'm getting rid of all of the questions from the interviewer. I'm getting rid of all the spots that I know for a fact that there's no way I'm going to use any of this footage. So I go through there, pull all of that stuff out. And then while I'm doing that, I'm also organizing my footage. So with Lee's here, this is all of the raw footage that just came in from the camera. And then my first pass is right here. And so I've broken this down and color-coded each element of the story. So for instance, right here, the first portion of his story is red, the introduction of his story. And then the inciting incident is in yellow, progressive complications are green, the blue there is the turning point, and then kind of the pink-purple color is the resolution and moral. So once you have that all color-coded out, it really helps you just kind of wrap your mind around the whole kind of breadth of your story and makes it easier to not feel overwhelmed by all this information. Okay, so now on to pass two. Pass two, this is when you're actually starting the storytelling process because you're having to make decisions on which statements belong in your story and which statements do not. Okay, so with pass two, what I'm trying to be very liberal with my selections. Anything that might be interesting to me, anything's like, oh, this is a nice statement, that's a nice statement, grab it. I'm being very liberal with what I'm pulling. So I go through the entire story that way. And really what I'm trying to do is just condense my footage. Again, the more footage you have, in Lee's case, we have about 2 hours worth of footage. I don't want to be trying to pull out of a sea of 2 hours of footage to try to make my 5-minute video or whatever. I want to just condense that 2 hours down to, maybe 30 minutes or something like that. So I'm just trying to go through and pull out the things that are relatively interesting to me during pass two. Okay, so pass three is where we're at now. And really, pass three is just a continuation of what we were trying to do in pass two. We're just trying to, again, condense down the footage. So I'm showing you here on pass three, I just grab a clip that I like, and I'm just, kind of pulling it up a couple lines here and saving it at the top there. So when I go on to my next pass, I can just highlight all of the ones that I like, copy those, drop them into a new sequence, and then I move on to pass four. So I'm taking it a step at a time, a pass at a time, and I'm saving the old passes along the way, because a lot of times you'll get into a situation where you're working with the current footage that you have in that pass, and you go, oh, wait a second, I missed this part of the story. There's a hole in my story. And instead of having to go back to just, again, the sea of footage, the 2 hours of footage, I can go back one pass and go, oh, I think it was right in here, and easily find it and bring it into the pass that you want it to be in. So save along the way, and it'll help you just kind of keep track of where all of your clips are. So at the end of pass two, I had about 30 minutes of footage. And then in pass four, now I'm down to, about 10 minutes of footage. So again, just trying to keep it manageable, taking steps at a time. The idea, the concept here is kind of like I'm sculpting something. I'm chipping away all the stuff that doesn't need to be there to reveal this great story. Okay, so I've condensed down all of my footage to, maybe 10 or 15 minutes, depending on how long your story is. And now I'm ready to start on the final pass. Now, when I say final pass, I'm not talking about, color effects and graphics and all of kind of the polish that we're going to put on our story later. What I'm really just talking about is the story edit, the final pass of the story edit. And so that is what this is right now. This is my final pass. And so right now, I just kind of want to walk you through that and talk a little bit about why I made some of the decisions that I made. Okay, so one of the first things I do when I'm working on the final pass is I bring in some music. Now, the music should be something that obviously fits the tone that you're trying to set in your story. So if the story is a dark, sad, story like Lee's is, it's very heavy, you want kind of that, drone sound, or maybe that kind of ethereal, mysterious kind of sound to build tension into your story. So what I do on the final pass is I bring in some music so that I can help. It helps me kind of guide the pacing of my clips as well. Now, one thing to keep in mind, especially when you're working on a story that's like Lee's, that's a little darker, you don't want to just hit play and immediately he starts talking. We want to give the audience a chance to kind of get comfortable with where this story is going, and the music will help inform them of that. So we play the music for a little bit, and we'll cover it later with B-roll. But so we want to kind of set the tone before he just starts talking.
I could not have injured my wife at a more vulnerable place than what I did, man. She's reminded every time she looks at me that I betrayed her.
Okay, so after hearing those statements, what is the question that is in the audience's mind right now? The question is, what did he do? And that's what we want. We want the audience to be having questions rise up in their mind that's keeping them interested, that's keeping them engaged and wanting to know what is going to happen next. Now they want to know, what did he do? And so that's why it's so important, like in my mind, to just really engage the audience quickly right out of the gate to get those questions starting to come up in their mind immediately. Another great thing about starting this way in Lee's specific story is that this is not an easy story for Lee to share, in that it doesn't make him look good. And the opening here, we want people to understand from the get-go, he's remorseful. This is not something, that he's taking lightly when he looks back at the things he did.